You answer the message before you even finish reading it. You apologize, even when nothing is your fault. You say yes, when every bone in your body is screaming no. And somehow the people around you call you the nicest person they know. But here's the question no one is asking you. What if your kindness isn't really kindness at all? What if it's something much darker? What if the reason you can't say no, the reason you shrink yourself, silence yourself, and exhaust yourself trying to keep everyone else happy, isn't because you're a good person, but because somewhere, deep in your childhood, your nervous system learned that love wasn't free. It had to be earned. And the only currency that worked was being easy, being quiet, being useful, never being too much. Today, we are going deep into the psychology behind one of the most misunderstood patterns in human behavior. Why emotionally neglected children grow up to become chronic people pleasers. And more importantly, why breaking free from it feels almost impossible. If you're new here, I make psychology videos every single day to help you understand yourself on a deeper level. Subscribe because this channel might be the most important one you find this year. Section 1. What is emotional neglect? Before we talk about people pleasing, we need to understand where it actually comes from. And that starts with something called childhood emotional neglect, or CN. Now, most people think of neglect as something obvious. A child left without food, without shelter, without basic care. But emotional neglect is invisible. It's not what happened to you, it's what didn't happen. It's the parent who was physically present, but emotionally absent. It's the feelings that were never validated. It's the child who cried and was told to stop being dramatic. It's the child who achieved something wonderful and heard nothing. It's the child who was angry or scared or sad and learned very quickly that showing those emotions made things worse. Dr. Jonice Webb, a psychologist who has dedicated her career to studying SEN, describes it simply. Emotional neglect is a parent's failure to respond enough to a child's emotional needs. And here is the devastating truth about that. The child doesn't grow up thinking, my parents neglected my emotions. They grow up thinking, my emotions are the problem. And that one false belief, that their inner world is a burden, becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Section 2. The survival strategy. How people-pleasing is born. You don't yet have language for psychology. You don't understand emotional regulation. You don't know what a boundary is. What you do know is this. When I cry, the room gets tense. When I ask for something, I'm told I'm selfish. When I'm too loud, too much, too emotional, the person I love most goes cold. So what do? You adapt. You learn to read the room like a survival skill. You become hyper-aware of other people's moods, because in your world, someone else's mood directly affects your safety. You stop asking. You stop expressing. You start performing. You become the easy child, the good child, the one who never causes trouble, and it works. There is less conflict. There is less tension. There is, in small doses, something that feels like approval. And your young brain registers this. Keeping others happy. I am safe. My own needs. Undangerous. This is not weakness. This is not a character flaw. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do, keeping you alive in an environment where emotional authenticity felt threatening. The tragedy is not that you developed this strategy. The tragedy is that most people never realize they're still running it, decades later, in a completely different life. Section 3. What people-pleasing actually does to you. Let's talk about what chronic people-pleasing actually costs you. Because it is more than just saying yes when you mean no. First, it destroys your identity. When you spend your entire life shape-shifting to match what other people need, you lose track of who you actually are, what you like, what you believe, what you want. You become whoever the room needs you to be, and eventually, you don't know how to be anything else. Second, it creates resentment. You give and give and give, but because you give from fear, not genuine generosity, the well runs dry, and you start to feel invisible, used, exhausted, and you resent the people. You're trying so hard to please, which then makes you feel guilty, which makes you try harder, which exhausts you more. It is a cycle with no exit until you understand where it came from. Third, it trains people to take you for granted. When you have no limits, when you always say yes, when you never push back, people unconsciously stop respecting your space. Not because they're evil, but because you've never shown them where the line is. And fourth, and this one is the most heartbreaking, it makes love feel conditional forever. Because somewhere inside you is still that child who learned, I am only lovable when I am useful. So even in safe relationships, even with people who genuinely love you, you cannot fully relax. Because some part of you is always waiting for the moment you are no longer useful enough. And then the love will disappear. That is not a relationship problem. That is a wound. Section 4. The psychology behind it. What the science says. Psychology has several frameworks that help us understand this pattern. Attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby and later expanded by Mary Ainsworth, tells us that children develop an internal working model of relationships. Based on their early caregiving experiences, children who receive inconsistent or emotionally unavailable caregiving often develop what's called anxious attachment, a constant fear of abandonment, a deep need for external validation, and an inability to trust that love is stable. For these individuals, people-pleasing becomes an attachment strategy. It is how they try to prevent rejection. It is how they keep people close. There is also the concept of the fawn response, coined by therapist Pete Walker. Most people know fight, flight, and freeze, the classic stress responses. But fawn is different. Fawn is people-pleasing as a trauma response. It looks like this when there is conflict, tension, or the threat of rejection. Instead of fighting, fleeing, or freezing, the person immediately works to soothe, appease, and accommodate the other person, because that is what kept them safe as a child. And the brain, brilliant, adaptive, but also deeply habitual, keeps running that program, even when the threat is no longer real, even when the other person isn't dangerous, even when you are a fully grown adult with every resource to protect yourself. The nervous system doesn't care. It only knows the pattern. Section 5. How to begin breaking the pattern. So what do you actually do with this? The first step, and I want to be honest with you, it is the hardest, is recognition. You cannot heal what you cannot see. So the next time you feel that familiar pull to say yes when you mean no, to apologize before you've even thought about it, to put someone else's comfort ahead of your own well-being, pause and ask yourself, is this what I actually want? Or is this what I've been trained to do to feel safe? That pause, that tiny moment of awareness, is the beginning of everything. The second step is to start making contact with your own needs again. Emotional neglect often leaves people with what is called alexithymia, difficulty identifying and describing their own feelings. You've spent so long focused on everyone else that you've lost the ability to tune into yourself. Start small. After any interaction, ask, how do I feel? What do I need right now? Not what does the other person need? What do I need? The third step is to practice tolerating discomfort. Because here is what happens when you start saying no. When you start having boundaries, when you stop performing for approval, it feels unbearable. The guilt is real. The anxiety is real. The fear that people will leave is real. But here is what is also real. Those feelings are old. They belong to the past. They are the echo of a child who needed to people-please to survive, not the reality of the adult you are today. Every time you sit with that discomfort instead of immediately soothing it by giving in, you are retraining your nervous system. You are teaching your brain a new truth. I am safe, even when someone is uncomfortable, even when I disappoint them, even when I am not useful, I am still enough. People-pleasing is one of the loneliest experiences in the world, because you are surrounded by people, constantly giving to them, constantly needed by them, and yet somehow no one really knows you, because you've never shown them, because somewhere along the way you learned that the real you, with needs, with limits, with emotions, wasn't safe to show. But I want to tell you something. That child who learned to disappear, to survive, was doing the bravest thing they could. And now you get to do something braver still. You get to come back. If this video spoke to something real in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. It might be the most important thing they watch this week. And if you want to go deeper, I've made more videos on healing emotional neglect, breaking trauma patterns, and rebuilding your sense of self. They're right here on this channel. Subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of psychology that changes lives, including yours. I'll see you in the next one.